Hi guys, it's me, Layla, your host, and thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Hamlet Island. Ample cause or justification. I just wanted to steer a different route a bit and share with you a little bit of I don't know if people are saying I'm maybe some kind of star or something, but I just wanted to share a little bit about why that may have come about, or what kind of started this off, and how we even got to this place, and how Hamlet Island was even formed, and my memoirs in there. And this is actually the original letter that was written to my mayor, Mayor Terry Renner of Bloomington Normal, Illinois. It was dated 1/13 of 2021, and this is a letter that actually started it all, and I would just like to share it with you. It's actually my testimony and a true account of what happened to me and how we got to this place. So feel free to listen. Dear Mayor Terry Renner, our country is made up of many different people and cultures. I'm writing to you today to appeal to you how our town of Bloomington and the community we live in is also being affected by this. As communities change with times and grow, they become more diverse. Long ago, our country's leaders stood for what they believe in. Today, it also is important that we talk about and educate our community about the importance of diversity and accepting the changes that come with change in the dynamics of culture. This is our civic duty, and our fathers fought for it. How do we keep our town of Bloomington together and safe with all the division in our country? And how do we honor our American heritage? Living in the land of Lincoln, the Lincoln Memorial honors President Abraham Lincoln, and during one of the most divided times in our country, when Americans fought each other, President Lincoln kept our country together and unified. The Constitution was written when our country was being formed, and to make sure the rights of all citizens were protected, it gave us our freedoms. With respect to our great nation and everything that is founded on, and what many great leaders in the past have fought for to form the heritage of the Americans. The Statue of Liberty is a symbol of how our nation extends its freedom to all people in all countries that come to our great country. With that being said, I have a great respect for our nation and the town of Bloomington, and would like to honor our American heritage by upholding these values as we see the former dynamics of our town change and becoming more diverse with the assimilation of new cultures, customs, immigrants, and diversity. Keeping our community safe and unified is a burden on my heart. Coming from a diverse background myself, I have often been ashamed of my race and nationality and often felt discriminated against because of it. My mom is American and my dad is Iranian. We grew up in the U.S. and lived a portion of my childhood in Iran under strict Islamic culture. Later in middle school, when we came back to the U.S. to stay, I often felt like people thought of me as a terrorist, or that I was an enemy to the country for saying that I'm part Iranian. Being ashamed of this and not wanting people to think that of me, I started lying about my race and telling people I was Greek, German, Danish, and Italian. My mom is German and Danish, and I figured the Greek and Italian would explain my dark complexion from my dad's side. It wasn't until I became a Christian did Christ really start freeing me from the shame and the despise I had for my nationality and my race. So many times I felt like I had to try and rid myself of my heritage and try to become Americanized as much as possible so I could fit in and not be looked at as an enemy to the nation or an evil person. This was especially challenging in a small rural town like Bloomington. I know the people of Bloomington are very traditional and come from a less diverse makeup. Being of this origin really puts pressure on me in this small town, as change in culture and dynamics as far as diversity and immigration goes is not always welcomed so easily. In fact, some of the amendment rights that our country fought hard to put in place have been greatly violated by having this nationality. My amendment rights, as well as Illinois law and statutes, have been violated in a heinous way. This includes Statute 775 Illinois CS5, Human Rights Act, Article 6 in particular. The Constitution of the State of Illinois, Article 1, Bill of Rights, Section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15, 20, and 22, to name a few. On October 17, 2016, my privacy was severely compromised as a local church in our Bloomington Normal community hacked into my Wi-Fi and rooted my phone. This all started on September 6, 2016, when I had a friend from church over for a play date. We both had toddlers the same age, and she had invited me on play dates in the past. I have previously lied to her about my race and nationality when she had asked me where I was from. Feeling guilty now as a Christian and lying to a fellow Christian and friend from church, I was really convicted that I need to be okay with my race and just tell her that I'm part Iranian. While I know the normal reaction to that isn't always welcomed favorably, I felt like I can't lie anymore about this. So she asked me again all the places that I lived, and as it came up in normal conversation, I didn't want to lie anymore. So I told her I didn't want to lie anymore, deny my nationality again, or be ashamed of it anymore. If Christ freed me from all my shame, I should put it into practice and be honest about my race. So I proceeded to tell her that I was part American and part Iranian, and how I lived and grew up part of my childhood in Iran, and now my parents are separated and my dad lives there. I told her how someone gave me a Bible outside of my middle school right when we moved back to the United States, and soon after in high school I put my faith in Christ. Well, I didn't understand all of it, and I stopped from going to church. Later, I accepted Christ by faith. Later in 2008, when I was pregnant with my son and told that he was a high risk for Down syndrome and had cysts on his brain and wasn't getting all the nutrients via the umbilical cord he needed, we were highly pressured by doctors and my family to abort the baby. When my dad had now left and my mom was a few years, my new husband and I decided to pray for the baby to be healed and to keep him. We started going to Eastview Christian Church together and dedicated our lives to Christ and to raise our baby and family in Christ and in the church. We have been going to Eastview for 8 years at this point in 2016. We are well-respected, hardworking, educated. I'm an accountant, and my husband works for a major insurance company, State Farm, in our town. Our name and integrity are highly important to the nature of our work and the business that we are in. When I told my friend about my race and my Iranian background and roots, she seemed timid and scared. She grabbed her kids and thanked me and left my house. And the next few Sundays at our local church, the pastor was preaching on a topic that highlighted some of the division that happened in the church over whether people of a nation that is anti-Israel can or should be able to come to church. At this point, I was going there for 8 years, and no one knew my race or Iranian roots. My confidentiality I put in my friend as I told her my race was broken, and she and her husband told the church pastor and staff. As she and her husband told the church pastor and staff. This led to a big division breaking out over my race, and if I can even worship there as a Christian. One sermon that was preached, the senior pastor, Mike Baker, commented that some would rather see me punched in the face than become a Christian. I listened to that sermon over 20 times at home that day in shock of the big division and the hatred people have for a new race being in their church. The church is very traditional, and rural small-town values change, or others are not like them being a part of the church culture was very disturbing to them. They proceeded to somehow see my IP address 20 times on that one sermon that I listened to, and hacked illegally into my phone and Wi-Fi. They had no search warrant, no probable cause, or even authority to do so. It was out of their own prejudices that they decided to hack into my stuff and go through all my emails, all my texts, all my conversations with my family in Iran, my phone calls, watching me and invading my privacy in my own home through my cameras being hacked. They also hacked my audio and can now hear everything we say in the privacy of our own home, as well as watch through the cameras on my phone and computers. My amendment rights and privacy have been severely compromised and violated. I feel like I've been raped. They next proceeded to hand out my IP address and access to my phone to random members in the congregation, on staff, and other pastors. I became a spectacle for everyone to come watch. The convert, the foreigner, someone not like them, someone so far from God, someone so different than us. I have air quotes going here. Mike Baker next made rounds to pastoral conventions throughout the nation and handed out my IP address for whoever wanted to come see. This has now grown to be so large that my safety and privacy, my dignity, and my integrity are completely marred. While I became aware of this privacy invasion, as many sermons and speeches would name very specific things you did or said that week, and in blackmailing and manipulative ways, my pastor would make fun of me and belittle me, and as they crept into your privacy and watched you. And while I didn't want to give the Church of Christ a bad name by publicly exposing this crime, or make a big racial tension in our nation by taking them to court, I thought they would leave by now, since they could see that I'm not a terrorist, or anti-Israel, or a bad person, but a good Iranian-American Christian. It has now been 5 years, and they're still hacked into my Wi-Fi and won't leave. This led to other lead pastors like Andy Stanley of North Point Church in Georgia to try and manage this, but only led to immorality and sexual harassment. Because of my cameras being hacked into, many have seen that I'm an attractive girl, half their age, and started sexually harassing me and assaulting me. They started watching me on cameras all over devices in my house that then led to in the church that then led to watching me in my house that then led to watching me in devices and cameras in the church. They started talking about my breast size and making it into sexual things. They constantly are harassing me because of my breast and have now brought media sources and new people, networks like ESPN, Fox News, CNN, local news, Twitter, Moody Radio, local radio, Sirius XM radio, late night comedy shows, Saturday Night Live, celebrities, random people in my neighborhood and town, my kids' teachers, my doctors, one who looked down my shirt when I was knocked out for a procedure, and many other random people, including President Trump. Andy Stanley having a status in the church went to Trump to try to use heinous blackmail, abuse, assault, and ultimate humiliation of degrading techniques to cover his immorality in the church, as well as this whole scandal. President Trump used his resources and power to have all media sources spurn me as evil and promiscuous, to slander my name and reputation, and to twist this like I'm the bad guy and not them. They sexually harass me and act like I'm promiscuous as they creep in my privacy with governmental tools such as satellites, imagings that go through my walls, and I now have no privacy whatsoever. He invited thousands to come watch me on the satellite app as I take a shower, use the restroom, get dressed, have sex with my spouse, etc. Andy Stanley also took pictures of me naked and put them on the internet. President Trump continues to threaten me with false imprisonment, or to kill me, or to have me come up missing if I report this to anyone. If I even mention anything in the privacy of my own home, the president and Andy impose more blackmail, like exposing my HIPAA records or personal family things, and makes up flagrant lies to intentionally harm my reputation. I thought by now they would leave, but everyone is backing them up as the whole media is on here watching me shower, bathroom, change, have intercourse, and no privacy. I'm constantly threatened by Trump and Stanley and Mike Baker and random members in my community if I tell anyone about this. Andy Stanley also stole personal property of mine that is left at the state as an inheritance. This has become a big national hate crime and sexual assault of a nation on one person. Media continues to relentlessly mock me and slander me daily, no matter if it's the radio or news or sports shows. They all have used their platforms and power to control this crime and oppress me in it. My life and my family's life is forever in constant danger. All our passwords and accounts are all for everyone to see. The community I live in is now pitting me as some kind of terrorist and bad guy. Andy Stanley made this into a political sides kind of thing. If you defend me, you're anti-Israel. He drummed up an army of people against me because he doesn't want to get caught. He also had President Trump put cameras on my car and creep through my window when the churches shut down for COVID, and he could no longer creep on me there. This man has severely ruined and damaged my life. Mr. Trump using government tools to sexually harass and assault me is also uncalled for. He has no FISA court ruling, no probable cause, no search warrant or reason, no cause for wiretapping. Everything they are doing is highly illegal. They continue to threaten me if I do anything, as all my stuff is under their eye constantly. It has been 5 years now, and I have been without privacy. My life and safety are at risk constantly. Technology has really contributed to this hate crime. With the access of cameras, phones, apps, satellites, social media, etc., these guys are able to tell more and more people at a faster speed, and my privacy and access with more people faster and spread my privacy and access with a push of a button. Pictures of me in real life footage can be accessed anywhere, anytime, making sexual harassments possible unlike any other time period. So I appeal to you today for the safety, dignity, as well as the unity for all people, despite national origin, race, diversity, or culture. As more and more foreigners and ethnicities are moving into rural suburbs like my town, we must be a people prepared to welcome and embrace these changes without hostility, abuse, or violence. Many cultures that have come to America have kept their traditions and tried to pass these important heritage traits down generationally to their children. We need to honor our American heritage the forefathers fought for by making our towns and countries safe places where all people have the freedom to tell and share their life stories and pass their family heritage and traditions and cultures down generationally, or even share horizontally within society without fear or discrimination. All this abuse and scandal happened to me as a result of sharing my story and my ethnic identity. I would not wish this on anyone else to have to endure the same kind of mistreatment I am now facing. Please, Mr. Rayner, join me in upholding the heritage of our great nation by cultivating a safe place for all citizens, despite ethnicity, culture clashes, or heritage, to be able to maintain their diversity generationally, yet be a unified people and community. Sincerely, Layla Cheek. And so, thank you guys for listening to that. That's my letter I wrote to my mayor as this stuff had happened, and eventually that, got to Mr. Biden when he took office, and he used it in his inauguration, and then all this drama continues to unfold. So if you're wondering why I'm a celebrity, quote unquote, it's actually because I'm being persecuted as a Christian. And now my town is setting me up to go into a mental ward falsely because they are still trying to cover this up and falsely accuse me. They have put roots in my kids and in me, and they track us everywhere we go. And so, a lot of my ways of being able to report this have been blocked and hindered as these guys, constantly have their eye on me. I'm grateful for radio and for press like this and for free radio nonprofit organizations like this that we can share, report things and share things and just have it be open so people can support you and hear the truth, because these guys have blocked every means of communication, every means of reporting anything that I could have. This is my only source of getting the truth out there. So I'm just grateful for amplified radio and amplified Anchor radio, and for Spotify podcasts and their radios as well, and Amplecause, I guess is what I should say. My podcast Amplecause on Spotify and on Anchor, and just the ability to be able to share these things with you guys and get the truth out there, because I know some media sources are compromised, and it's just hard to know what is okay and what's not, and I have some of my reporting issues blocked. So thank you for listening to me. Please help get the word out, pass this to anyone you can, and that's a little bit where my journaling and my Hamlet Island comes from, some of these sources. So if you're wondering the stories behind that, these are real true events and testimonies that happened to me, and this is just kind of my way of journalizing it. So thank you for listening. See you soon. Good night.